Hello everyone, today I thought I would talk a little bit about some of my goals for reading and booktube in 2016. I was originally planning to start this video with a bit of a wrap up about how my 2015 goals went, but I went back and realized that I didn't actually put up a 2015 goals video. I filmed it, but for whatever reason, I didn't end up putting it up. Even still, I thought I'd just briefly talk about how my reading went last year because it was really up and down. Last year I set myself a goal of reading 50 books. Now I anticipated to read a lot more than that, but I didn't want to feel pressured at all, so I set my goal to 50 books and I did manage to surpass that. I read 70 books last year, which I'm very happy about considering the epic reading slump that happened last year, but I would have liked to have read a little more. But that reading slump really did throw a spanner in the works. If you guys aren't aware, around the middle of last year when my semester 2 started, I fell into a humongous reading slump. I think I was just feeling super stressed with uni readings, and the books that I had started around that time were very big books and very slow books, and that just really did not help me one bit. I'm sure you guys noticed it as well, that it affected the channel too. I wasn't making many videos. Those that I were putting up were the standard book haul wrap up TBR videos and not much else. I did a few unboxings here and there, but things on this channel were just going downhill. It wasn't a great time, but I'm feeling much more optimistic about 2016. I absolutely love BookTube and I love making videos, and I'm just excited to get back into the groove of things, and some of my goals should hopefully help out with that as well. Let's jump into what I plan on doing this year. I've once again set myself the challenge of reading 50 books this year. I don't know what uni is going to be like, so I don't want to set it too high, and 50 is just a nice reasonable number for me. I also want to finish at least 10 series. I have a list here. This is 44 series that I've started and yet to finish, and as you can see, I've completed one so far this year. There are some more than this, but those ones I'm not interested in finishing at all, or at least not at the moment. Now I do anticipate that I will be starting more series during the year, so my ultimate goal isn't actually to complete just 10 series, I want to cut down by 10 series. So I have 44 currently here, I want that number to be 34. So if I start 3 more series during the year, I have to complete 13 series. Do you catch my drift? Now, I am making 2016 the year of big books. I've noticed a bit of a trend on my TBR shelf. There are quite a few books that I have not started, mainly because I've felt super daunted by their size. Like, I haven't picked them up because I've been scared. You have to commit a little extra time to those books that are like 800 plus pages, so they can be a little bit daunting. But this year I really want to dive into some of those books that I have been putting off, mainly because of their size. So I have a list of 5 here that are top priority. First of all, I have Sari by Sue Dharmapala. This book is almost 600 pages, but in addition to being a thicker book, it's quite sizable as well. It's bigger than my head. I also have A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. The only reason why I have not continued watching the Game of Thrones series is because I haven't continued reading them. This one is over 1,000 pages long, so it's going to take me a little while. I read the first book at least 2 or 3 years ago now, so in preparation for this one, since I've forgotten a lot of what happens in the first book, I'm going to rewatch the first season and then I'm going to continue with this book. I also have The Golem and the Jinni by Helen Wecker. This one isn't too large, it's almost 500 pages, but again, this one is like larger than my head. And now I have a couple of books that are going to take a little while to read, not necessarily because of their size, but because of the way that they're formatted. The first one is S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. So basically we have a book, Ship of Theseus by V.M. Strucker, but the story is also written kind of in the margins. We have 2 characters writing back and forth, and there's a bunch of little papers slipped in here and there. So we have 2 layers of this story. So I think that will slow down my reading of it because I won't just be reading the Ship of Theseus, but I will be stopping and looking in the margins and reading everything that's around the page as well. And lastly, I have House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This one is about 650 pages. This one is quite unique in its setup. We've got a mix of things going on here. And I think that this one also has several layers in terms of the storylines. I've been meaning to read this one for so long, and I've just been really scared to start it because I know I will have to commit a lot of time to this one, not only because of how many pages there are and how it's formatted, but I think it's going to get a little confusing with so many layers of the plot. So those are 5 of the books that are on the top of my priority list. I do have several other big books that I would like to get to, such as Anna Karenina, Kingdom of Little Wounds, The Goldfinch, and pretty much any of Brandon Sanderson's novels. So there's a lot for me to choose from. In terms of reading, those are pretty much my only goals. I'm not going to be participating in any of the reading challenges that are happening this year, those ones that have a list of like 25 or 50 criteria and you try and read books that satisfy those. And I'm also probably not going to be using my TBR jar, at least not towards the beginning of the year. The main reason for this is because of the whole reading slump business. I'm still on the tail end of it. I have periods where I just don't even think about reading, it doesn't even cross my mind. So my main approach to reading this year is to pick up books that I'm really excited about in that moment. I don't want to have to pick a book out of a jar and force myself to read it, especially when I'm not feeling in the mood to read that book at that time, because that could land me in another reading slump, which I really want to avoid. So I'm letting myself pick up books I'm really excited to read in that moment, and hopefully that ignites my reading flame and I just power through the books this year. Who knows how that's gonna go down, because I'm an English major, I have required reading, I don't have any say over the books that I have to read for uni, so that could get a little iffy during the semesters, but outside of that, I'm just gonna be reading books that I'm excited about. Now, I attempted to do this last year, but failed miserably, but this year I'm hoping to do the Project 5, so basically read 5 books before you buy one. In 2015, I had hoped to cut down my TBR pile, but that didn't really work. I received a lot of books last year for review, mainly unsolicited review copies, so I didn't really have much say in that matter. And I also had some subscription boxes that I received for review, so I acquired quite a lot of books last year. But looking back at the amount of books that were actually added to my TBR pile, it was less than I was anticipating. So I looked back at all of the books that I acquired last year and deducted the amount that I read, but then I also noticed that I bought quite a lot of books that weren't put straight onto my TBR pile, mainly because I bought some books that I had previously read, mainly in my childhood. I bought like the entire series of Unfortunate Events, as well as the Rowan of Rin series by Emily Rodda, and there were quite a few books that I bought that were duplicates. Mainly my Illuminae ones, because I now have 4 copies of that, but after taking into account all of those books, I ended up adding 46 books to my TBR pile, which is a lot, but it was less than I thought it was going to be. This year, however, I really do want to have less books on my TBR pile than there were at the beginning, and thus the Project 5. I'm already in debt. I have only read 3 books and I've purchased 1, so I'm only able to buy another book once I've read a total of 10. This is going to be a tricky challenge. I know it is. I'm not going to be including any of the unsolicited review copies that I get because I have no control over those, so I'm just going to be excluding that from the Project 5, but I think that review copies that I personally request, I will be classifying those as bought books, so they will apply for the Project 5. I also have a couple of general goals for the channel for this year. I'm currently working out a video schedule, but my hope is to upload at least 1 video a week. In addition to this, I also want to work on posting at least 2 reviews a month. With January going well so far, I've posted my Warbreaker and Soundless reviews, but I do think that 2 is a reasonable amount of reviews to aim for posting a month, at least to begin with. With these BookTube goals though, I'm not going to get too disappointed in myself come exam and assessment time when things get really hectic at uni, because I do get really stressed out with that. So if I do need to take a little break here and there, I will, but I'm really hoping that 2016 ends up being a good year in terms of my channel and my reading. I also wanted to ask you guys as well if you were interested in any check-in videos. I will of course do a wrap-up of my 2016 goals at the end of the year, but I thought I'd put out the question as well if you'd want anything sooner, like midway through the year. Would you be interested in a check-in at all? I'm not sure if it's something that you guys are really interested in or would want, so I thought I'd ask. But that is all that I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!